Andres has been involved in the international finance sector for over 20 years. He is currently the chair of the Oversight Committee of the Nepad-IPPF. Michael Andres, welcome to the program and thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you. Nice to meet you, Priscilla, and I really appreciate to have this interview today.
Thank you. Achieving the SDGs is a huge challenge. How does KfW Development Bank envisage the meeting of the challenge, especially since the emergence of the pandemic?
It's a good question. I think yes, at KfW, we are really, of course, fully committed to the SDGs. And I think since 2019, I think we really, count everything, what we contribute to the SDGs fulfillment. So we have even on our web presence, you can see what is the contribution of KfW so far on this one. And I think one of the major SDGs, what we're looking for is really all SDGs linked to the climate change. I think climate and environment is one of the focal points of KfW's activities. So I can just list the SDG 8, like 7 for clean energy, climate change, SDG 13, 11 for sustainable cities and development. So I think that are the major activities where you're saying we have a strong focus on it. But of course, as you rightly mentioned, I think the pandemic, what we're facing now, I think additional challenges, what you haven't expected. And of course, we had to refocus, I think, the last year a lot to fight against the negative impact of the corona pandemic. And I think what we did at the end of the year is like that we achieved a 25% increase of our commitments in the last year. And that was, I think, mainly because we added a lot of activities within the health sector to address all the issues and I think for social security as well. And so I think if you speak with the SDGs again, you can then mention the SDG 8, I think what we increase a lot, like decent work and economic growth. So that I think it's what our KfW's commitments are the SDGs and what is the influence on the climate of the corona pandemic.
Okay, right. In terms of infrastructure and urban development, which sector do you consider to be the top priority in Africa?
I think there are two major issues we have to consider when we're looking for priority actions. First of all, I think it's always what is the priority of the country itself. I think we as a development company, we can just support. You know, we should not tell the governments which kind of sectors they should focus on. So I think we always, I think, usually try to support and to follow the needs of the specific countries. And that brings me to the second point. I think when we look at the entire Africa, I think you see such a diverse continent. You see so many diverse challenges, and they are so differently that I would say the Nepad-IPPF, for instance, we should not concentrate on one specific sector because depending on the countries, there are specific sectors which should have the highest attention. Just an example, if you look, for instance, if you have a really low developed country where you really have first to meet all the basic needs, then I think you should be more focused maybe to get access to water, to bring access to power. But maybe other more developed countries which are facing more challenges, the urban development because of the migration from the rural countries, then I think maybe the ICT or transport is a more predominant sector you should be active on. So I cannot provide you a clear-cut sector for your answer, so I would always say it depends.
Right. Nepad-IPPF, celebrates its 15th anniversary. What would you like to say about the progress made by the fund?
I think, first of all, I would say I was not start right at the beginning. I think joining the Nepad-IPPF. So, but what I learned, at least, from the past, I see there was in the end of the day a tremendous success. So I think if I call the figures right, it's like we have more or less 55 projects completed in the infrastructure investment relation. And from then, we have 32 have financial close achieved. I think that is, I think, the indicator what brings us always an idea saying, okay, we got results. And I think from that, I think the major of the 32 projects have been already constructed or are under construction. So I think from that, I would say it was a tremendous success. And I think if I recall right, once Mike from FDB, he was calculating roughly and saying we have more or less, with our 100 million, what we put in the fund and implemented, we have, I would saying it's I think 100 times more or less increased by real investments on the ground. And I think based on that one, I would say yes, it was quite successful.
To conclude, KfW supported last year Nepad-IPPF with a commitment of 40 million euros. What are you hoping for the fund?
I think I would say for the funds, he facing, of course, some kind of challenges. As usual, every fund faces challenges time by time. And here I would hope that he can face the challenges and overcome them. And for me, at the moment, I think it's the main challenge here. What we have is really fundraising, because the fund is everybody is asking for preparation of projects, but the fund is really struggling to get more commitments on the ground. So we have more or less 100 million at the moment. And if you see, like for the Nepad-IPPF portfolio, it's already for that portfolio, it's 8 billion is needed for preparation. So such a tiny fund of Nepad-IPPF cannot save, I think, the entire infrastructure in Africa. So he needs more. He's established, but he needs more funds. So that is the one what I really hope for. The second one, what I hope for is, of course, that he can foster his cooperation with other preparation funds, with other donors, with countries itself, so that we get, I think, more synergies between all the preparational funds on the grounds. And for instance, we have the SDM, it's a service delivery mechanism. I think it's a very small institution, but still could provide you some additional values. You have a lot of other donors on the ground. Even I think from Asia and Pacific, a lot of new donors being active. So far, I think Nepad, was more like a kind of a European, North American tool. So I would really like to see more here. I would like to see more partner countries coming in, really step in, like from Europe, from African Union, to provide really funds, provide really ownership to do this Nepad-IPPF. So that's one I really hope for. And the third one is really like coming now to the technical issues. I see we have a midterm review made, and we saw the fund is, as I said, it's in principle, it's a success story. But of course, even a good project, a good company always has a room of improvement. And I think we agreed on an improvement plan. And I would really like to that the Nepad-IPPF can implement this improvement plan good, meaning like increasing transparency, increasing efficiency of the fund. And I think at the end of the day, to stay focused. I think that's the highest hope what I have. It's like the Nepad-IPPF, should stay focused, should really look for where's the highest value he can provide for the African countries, for the African people. I think that with this one in mind, as a kind of a main agenda, I'm quite confident that the upcoming next 15 years will be foster the success story of the previous 15.
On that note, Michael Andres, thank you so much for this interview. Thank you so much.